bring you an extraordinary adventure courtesy of two young men who read on the internet about a mysterious plane crash from more than 3 decades ago and decided to try and solve it. Here's ABC's David Curley.
On this remote Bolivian peak,
that's where we're getting to.
Two American adventurers
say what up
with no mountaineering experience
this is worse. This is much worse.
Are hoping to solve a more than 30-year-old mystery.
To me, that looks impassable.
Physically, really demanding.
And wait until you hear how they got here. We went to Boston to meet Dan Futrell and Isaac Stoner, two guys who one day, searching the internet, found this Wikipedia page, a page revealing that just 19 aircraft black boxes worldwide are unaccounted for, including one on Bolivia's 21,000-foot Mount Illimani. Never recovered, it says, because of inaccessible terrain.
So you find this by Googling and decide what? We can go find this black box that nobody's found for decades?
Well, Dan had to talk me into it, which took a little while.
Like, come on, like, people have been in the moon, people have been top of Everest. What does inaccessible mean? And, you know, with a couple of YouTube videos and some Google Maps later, we thought we could do it.
In Bolivia tonight, a team of mountain climbers is trying to reach that Eastern Airlines jet which crashed into the side of a mountain outside La Paz.
A Boeing 727 with 29 on board, including 8 Americans, slammed into Mount Illimani on New Year's Day, 1985.
A full-scale investigation by inspectors from the National Transportation Safety Board is now underway.
But the crash site, so remote and at 19,000 feet above sea level, so high that those investigators couldn't get to the site. Tom Howder, who had just joined the NTSB, says a team was sent back.
They got to the accident site, but by then, the area was covered in like 30, 40 feet of snow. And so they found a few parts, but nothing definitive. Certainly they didn't find the recorders at that time. And essentially, the investigation came to a halt.
Leaving a mystery. Was it a navigational error or something more sinister? There are plenty of conspiracy theories.
That was known that, you know, drugs and things were found on airplanes. There was a wife of the ambassador to Paraguay on board. What really happened here? The only way to know is to get to that tape.
So Flight 980 was added to the list of those handful of crashes around the world where the black boxes were never recovered. For the relatives of those lost on board, a fact that was hard to bear.
My dad, Mark Lewis Bird, he was the flight engineer on Eastern Airlines Flight 980.
Stacy Greer was just 3 years old when her dad didn't return from the South American flight.
My mom never really talked about it. I just always knew that I was missing my dad.
Did you ask yourself through the years, I wonder what really happened to my dad?
Yeah.
Which brings us back to those two American adventurers from Boston.
How do we stay alive? We could either find the black box or not.
He's got my back.
Who were looking for their next challenge.
You guys are both mountaineers?
No, not even close. We haven't done anything near what real mountaineers would call mountaineering.
To prepare, they rented an altitude tent, sleeping in it for a month to acclimatize. They ran stairs at Harvard Stadium and went to an outdoor store to buy some climbing gear.
Was it the sense of the adventure? Was it the mystery that appealed to you?
I think a little bit of both. Maybe we could succeed where all these other expeditions had not managed to.
Also sucking wind. Pete, remarkably composed. Sucking wind.
With just 3 hours of training from their guide,
Around the corner there, and we just can't do it.
they headed up the mountain.
Drop packs. This is a good place. Big pile of stuff here.
And then found what they were looking for.
We immediately found pieces of the plane.
And that's the first time when it was kind of real.
But over all those years, the wreckage had slid down the mountain and spread out a lot.
The debris field was much larger than we had anticipated.
They are now looking for the proverbial needle in a haystack, the black boxes, in a massive rock field.
It did seem like the goal of finding the flight recorders might be completely impossible.
Found this thing, which is the right color, but cracked open like an egg.
A piece of orange metal.
I flipped it over and it was very clearly international orange.
But it's really bent up. I expected a black box to be intact, and I also found some magnetic tape.
Promising, but not until the last day of their trek at 16,000 feet. the sun going down, does Isaac finally make the discovery that they had flown to Bolivia and climbed this mountain to find.
And so I just flipped over a piece that I hadn't flipped over before, and it had a little wrap on this bundle of wires. It said CKPTVORCDR. We're standing there on this beautiful mountainside holding this thing that we'd come a long way to find, that people had claimed had been stolen or hidden, and there it was. There it was.
They came back down and called me and told me what they had found. Time just froze.
Mystery solved, right? Hand over the tape to the NTSB and see what's learned? Wrong. Bolivian and U.S. relations are strained, and the Bolivians, even after all these years, are in charge of the investigation. Emails from Boston and certified letters from ABC News sent to the Bolivian embassy went unanswered. A standoff, while the box and possible remnants of the recording tape are sitting on a Boston kitchen counter.
Wait a minute, this is like a cardboard box. Basically, the black box is living in your apartment.
Yeah. What you see here are six different pieces. This one here is the piece that Isaac, the last piece that he found.
This is the eureka. This is when you think you know you've got it.
This is cockpit VO recorder.
But inside a plastic freezer bag,
the good stuff is...
It's this right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
That is a partial spool of what appears to be magnetic tape, a possible recording.
It's unusual that we're able to go find a black box. It's unusual that now it's seemingly our task to, convince the country of Bolivia to cooperate with the country of the United States.
Just in the past 2 weeks, progress. The Bolivians now saying they're willing to allow the NTSB to examine the tape. But who gets any information gleaned? That's not been determined. And so, the box sits. Stacy Greer got something she wanted, a piece of the plane that her father died on, which she now wears around her neck.
Do you think you'll ever get an answer as to what happened to your dad?
I hope.
Does it solve the mystery? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. At least what we should be able to say is that we have a thing now that might have an answer. We need to be able to check the box that either yes or no, it does or doesn't.
A mystery sitting in a cardboard box on a kitchen counter. For Nightline in Boston, I'm David Curley.